Brett, you sort of rolled with Matisse tonight after he got off to a good start. Was that the sort of game you talked about when we talked pregame, where he just needs to find that middle ground between aggression?
I think that's a fair point. Yes, and trying to figure out how we were going to start the second half. Trying to go with him, but in general, yes, I thought that he played, more tame. I thought that he took the shots that he should have shot. Under control shots, his shots, and I thought he made some defensive plays that were timely, and it's still a real benefit. It's still really interesting for me to see how much ground he covers and can get fingernails in balls and hands on balls. It was one of those games.
He's had a couple games where he shot, I think, 3 for 3 from 3 over the past week. What are you guys focusing on offensively with him? Like when you say his shots and things like that?
For me, it's the same messaging for probably the past 16 games. I thought initially he's coming into a team that's pretty good, and taking some shots like he'd been in the league for 10 years. He's rising up behind dribble handoffs and going away from stuff like JJ type shots. And you have to remind him. I love him for his boldness, but you have to remind him, like, you're on a good team and you're getting minutes. That in itself is rare for a rookie. And now the shots that you need to take are X. And I've said it last week, when he gets his waist over his feet and his shoulders follow and everything's aligned, his balance makes him a really good shooter. He's improving on being able to stop, I think, on a dime almost and find that. But it's step shots. It's like stepping from a high quadrant, a 4-point line in. It's sidestepping in the corners. That's his shots right now, not rising up behind dribble handoffs. And I think he's smart. He understands that. And I think the shots that he's taking are in his wheelhouse. And then you become a responsible defensive player, and there's an interesting young athlete to be grown.
Coach, both Joe and Al really filled the stat line tonight, really moved the ball well. Is that really what you kind of expected when you brought Al in here with Joe?
Yes, and we felt Al's pain in another uniform doing the same thing. And, I think that there are still, to me, two styles of play. There's like how do you want to play with Joel Embiid? And there is a clear identity that we're trying to grow. And then here comes Al Horford, and there is a different type of team. There's a different type of track meet going on. And they're both different. And then there are periods of the game, at the start and the finish and so on, at the start of the third, like they collide, Joel and Al collide. And then that's that area that, we're trying to figure out a little bit. And I think they're, to their credit, they communicate well. There's a mutual respect that from afar, like watching these guys grow as teammates. I love it.
Are you seeing Al get a little more comfortable and kind of know where his scoring opportunities are here lately? In that first quarter, he seemed like, in the half court, he really, was right in it.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like, shame on us if we think all this is just going to happen just because he's good. Like, it takes time, and he's prideful and he cares. He's trying to fit in. He's not a pig scorer. Like, he's a teammate. And so him trying to find his place where he can make a difference on this team, comes from, I'm assuming through his eyes, it feels like it through my eyes, with a level of care. He's trying to, navigate this whole new city and this new team with an element of class and care, and I think that he's done that. And I feel like as time unfolds, he's going to, and I talk like to them like I just talked to you. It's like you got an Al Horford team, this is how it's sort of planned, and you got a Joe team, and now all of a sudden you guys coexist, and we can put him in things. We tried to post him on Bogdanovich as an example tonight. When he was a 5-man, I'd pick and pop him and make Rudy come out and, try to guard him far away from the basket. And so we're all kind of learning how to use what we have.
What have you seen from Tobias in the pick and roll? It seems like you've gone to that action a little bit more recently with him.
I mean, I get a kick out of it. And I ask myself at times the question too. It's like, who's the closer? You know, who on this team? And what we should all admit is that we have options. We have a variety of people on a given night, you know, that you might be able to go to and through. You know, we all kind of think it's going to be Joel a lot, and so do I. But to your point, you know, I felt like Tobias was able to generate his own looks, you know, either through an isolation or if you hold it a little bit, you know, that equals come get me, give me a pick and roll, and we did. And I thought he made some timely baskets in a funny part of the game. We needed some buckets to truly close this game out.
Right, with all the things that Ben does, I've noticed it just seems like at least once a game he hits a teammate on that back cut with a long bounce pass. He just seems like he's always looking for that, and whether it's Josh or Tobias or Mike Scott or whoever, it seems like he's really good.
I think that he's growing in ways that you all wouldn't see because of the chair and job that I have. He's growing in ways that is trending as a point guard. You know, that may sound a little too coach speak, but in my world, there's two things that I'm really looking at from him. Growth as a point guard, time and score, feel the gym, feel Joel. Can you walk it down a game? Can you manage the clock? That stuff. And then the other stuff is just the finishing. You know, coming to jump stops, taking that extra stride step, long step, Giannis step, and not being bumped off your line as easily. And this thing that you're talking about, because he's ticking a box on the all-defensive team that I've challenged him on. He, to me, it's a no-brainer. But those other areas equal like a progressive growth that we need. And your point about seeing back cuts and back doors and him, I can see him talking to people, it's true. It is true, and that's just one layer of the onion. You know, I see it. It's a multi-layered growth at 23 years old. Let's not forget that.
When you watch two more guys,
When you watch Bible on film in college and his pre-draft workouts, it kind of projected him, you know, into your team. Did you see what you've gotten from him so far? Did you see a guy who could play 25, 30 minutes a night in a pinch?
No, I did not. And some of this obviously is exacerbated when you don't have Jay Rich. And so, you know, what does that mean when Jay Rich comes back? It means that he sure is still going to play. And in the event, like, we didn't have sort of that injury, he'd be knocking at the door and, you know, banging out steady minutes. And even on those terms, my evaluation is he has surprised me. It doesn't entirely surprise me because of what you could see deflection-wise and athletically, that he's able to do some things in that regard. His shot has surprised me, and I think that the human being, like, he's just elite. He's a great person, and he's a legitimate teammate, a prideful learner. That side of it, I think, is as important to the athletic side that we're talking about. I think the partnership equals you can expedite improvement quicker maybe than with most.